first video on my channel, and welcome to what will be the first of many speed build videos I'll be making in The Sims 4. Today I'm creating a family home in Henford-on-Bagley, right in the middle of town. It's close enough to the pub, the gardening and grocery stalls, and the Finchwick Fair that happens on the weekends. When I created this home, I pictured a small family with a background in farming that they just couldn't get away from, which is why I made sure there was ample space for a chicken coop, as well as some gardening plots to grow fruits and vegetables. I also wanted to leave some patches of lawn available for an overflowing flower garden, because I think it really dresses up a home so well and adds a sense of character to the build. Landscaping is something I have struggled with since I started playing The Sims a few years ago, but I like to think my skills have improved since then. However, I still rarely ever touch the terrain tools outside of painting the ground because it terrifies me. I am working on getting better with the terrain manipulator though, because since the base game updated to include pond tools, I've been really excited to include ponds in my builds. Right now, I'm just trying to get the shape of the house squared away. I didn't dive into this build with a visual of how I wanted it to look in the end, and honestly, that's how I approach most of my builds. I knew I wanted to use the brick swatch that we got with Cottage Living, and I was hoping to use the brick swatch with the cornerstones. However, it didn't work out for me. The cornerstones don't appear on the single tile wide walls, which is so bothersome to me. I opted for the basic brick swatch instead, which I still think looks really nice and has real versatility when it comes to what all it could be used for. And honestly, I think I'm going to use it in almost every build from here on out. I did do a lot of waffling back and forth with the roof design. Ultimately, I knew I wanted the roof to match the chicken coop, which was my main goal, because I wanted a little bit of continuity from the house to the chicken coop itself. The front porch area, I couldn't decide if I wanted it enclosed or open, but I did ultimately decide with open. I think it looks better. I didn't want it to be too big because I didn't want a big front porch, but I wanted it to be open to be able to see the flower garden and the garden patch and just have a nice little viewpoint onto the town. I did get a little annoyed right here though when I was trying to pick a swatch for the foundation. I wanted the lattice underneath the porch, but unfortunately we don't have anything like it for stairs or walls. It's just something I wish I could have continued under the stairway, at least in that first tile or so. Although in retrospect, I suppose I could have extended the porch, like the one tile. I did want to limit the amount of columns I used in the front. I only put 4, otherwise I felt like it would have been too column heavy. Here I'm using the new ground swatch that came with Cottage Living. I love it so much. I think it's completely adorable. I love the pink flowers in between the stones. My only note is I just wish it would have came in more different color swatches than just pink. But I think the pink worked really well for what I ended up doing with this build. After I put down some paint for the garden, I decided to go to the back of the house and add a back porch. I also tried to match the brown from the lattice in the front to the foundation that came with Get Together. I love the foundation from Get Together. It's one of my favorites and I use it a lot. Unfortunately, I couldn't get a perfect match, but it's fine. I just broke it up with the staircase and you can just ignore the rest. I added more of the ground paint with the pink flowers and the stonework from Cottage Living, and I extended it to the back from the front entrance. I do add more. I just wanted to kind of get a layout for the garden path that I had visualized in my mind at that point. Here I'm also starting to get the layout figured out for the house. What I like to do personally when I'm designing a home in the blueprint is I like to figure out where my stair is going to go. How big is it going to be? Is it going to be 2 tiles wide? Is it going to be a wraparound staircase? And I figure out where I want it to be in the house, and then I start putting up my walls from there. And I always work from the top floor down to the bottom. For some reason, that just works better for me. And I can figure out a flow for the house so much easier once I know where the stairs are going to be, because to me that's like the central artery to a house. The layout for the first floor was coming slowly together. I wanted the kitchen in the back and a fireplace in the front. I had the fireplace recessed off into the wall. I am constantly paranoid with my fireplace placement because I am worried about setting the home on fire as soon as somebody takes a match to it. But I think I do a pretty good job most of the time. And to that extent, I even put like little stonework under the fireplace most of the time just to put myself at ease, in case the fireplace catches the wood floors on fire. You never know. At this point in the build, I was adding windows to the exterior and realizing that I didn't have enough light on the interior. So that's when I started to go through and figure out which lights I wanted to use. I really love the new chandeliers that we got with this pack. I think they're so cute and they're so versatile, which is what I really hope for from a pack with The Sims is, not something that's just, specifically for one build set, like vampire stuff. There's a lot of stuff that you can only use for like vampire sim homes and spooky builds, which I am a fan of a good spooky build, don't get me wrong, but it is not easily usable towards every other build. And this pack, I think, came with a lot of things that I could just use in multiple different build styles. And I really enjoy that personally. At this point, I'm still trying to get the window placements down. And I am a big stickler for making things symmetrical, but that wasn't going to be the complete case with this build. I'm obviously not going to have a giant open window in the bathroom. Personally, it would weird me out. But on the back wall, I do like how I got it to look with the 3 windows on the top. The 2 windows being in the kids' room, I thought that was going to be really cute. The side wall, however, also not putting a giant window in the bathroom. Like, I know it's a game, but I feel like your Sims need privacy. They just do. You can afford them a little bit of privacy. Don't put a giant window in the bathroom. It's weird. I did choose to go with a yellow bathroom because I wanted it to remind the sim of sunshine and being outside and being happy. That's what yellow means to me, anyway. I did add another window just on the side, one of the smaller windows, because I do want some light coming in, like some natural light coming into the bathroom, just to kind of bring out the brightness of the yellow tile. The green curtain, I'm still not sure if it was my favorite swatch. I think I would go back and change it to yellow, honestly, but at the time I wanted to not keep it all yellow. I wanted to switch it up just a little bit. But in hindsight, I think I would change it. And I'm always like that, though. Like, I always look back on my builds that I do, and I give myself critiques like, that was a choice. I wonder if I'm alone on that, though. Are you someone who goes back to your builds and makes changes, or do you just keep what you decide on the first time around? Let me know in the comments. And if you do decide to download this home on the gallery, my name is Hexan91, Hexsan, and you can obviously change the curtains or the color choice of the bathroom to whatever you prefer. Here I'm working on the kitchen. I'm trying to figure out the layout at this point. This was a really tough room for me to work on and try to get an idea of how I wanted it to look in the end. But once I saw the red stove, I was kind of dead set on having a red kitchen. And honestly, I think it looked really nice, but I did decide on the white countertops in the end, though. I was playing around with the cabinets a lot on this wall. In the end, I knew I wanted windows on this back wall. I just didn't know how I could incorporate it with the cabinets, so I ended up deciding not to use them, which I think makes the kitchen look more open and it makes it look more bright and nice, which is what I look for ideally in most of the kitchens that I build. Here I'm adding the last window to the house, and like I mentioned, I put the river stone underneath the fireplace, which is honestly one of my favorite stone tiles to use in the game. I'm using the T.O.O.L mod here to elevate the TV perfectly on top of the ledge for the fireplace. I use T.O.O.L mod in almost all of my builds. and it is a lifesaver. Trust me, I highly recommend downloading it. And I will place a link to the mod in the description down below. I'm working on the living room now. I absolutely love the couch from Paranormal Stuff. It is one of my favorites. I have used it so many times since that pack came out. It's honestly one of the better packs, and the gameplay that comes with it is so cute, and I live for ghosts and ghoulies. I was starting to think about placing curtains in the kitchen at this point. I was using the base game curtains for most of the living room, but I figured it wouldn't work in the kitchen, so I ended up using the curtain that came with Cottage Living. The red swatch ended up matching perfectly with the whole theme that I had going on in the kitchen. Here I'm deciding to start tackling the chore that I gave myself with the landscaping by adding a mailbox and a trash can to the lot and trying to figure out what to do with the backyard. But I got too intimidated, so I went back inside and started figuring out how I was going to wallpaper the interior. For the dining room, I wanted it to be cute and happy, and for the living room, I definitely wanted it to be nice and cozy. I like that we have the different altering swatches for this wallpaper. I think that was such a brilliant idea for this pack. And then I took the brick from the exterior and used the all white swatch for the kitchen. And here is when I decided that the white countertops would look best. I ended up switching the end table from Cats and Dogs for the one that came with the new pack. The end tables from Cottage Living are super cute, and I thought they looked really good together along with the love seat from Paranormal Stuff against this wall. The bookends from the new pack are also really cute. I love almost all of the swatches that come with it. I did decide to use a lamp from Cats and Dogs though, just because that pack does hold a special place in my heart. I love the windows from that pack, and also I just love the fact that we have dogs in the game, and now we have llamas and chickens and cows and foxes. I was able to play with some of the foxes from the pack with one of my Rags to Riches challenge that I'm going to start streaming online. And oh my goodness, it is so cute. It can get scared, it can get excited to see you. I think the game generated the name Petal for one of them, and I thought that was the cutest name for a fox. Moving upstairs, I decided to start tackling how I wanted to decorate the bedrooms. I wasn't sure yet what I wanted to do with the parents' room, but I knew for the kids' room I wanted it to be neutral because I wasn't sure what kind of kid was going to live in this bedroom, but I thought green would be a nice neutral toned color. I liked the swatch for the wallpaper. Also, you might have noticed that I'm able to change the color tone for the chandelier in this room, and that comes also with that tool mod. It's part of a more expansive mod that includes better build by. You're able to change the color of the lights without needing a sim on the lot, and that is so useful. There's been so many times when I'm building that I decide against a chandelier or a lamp because it makes the room too yellow toned, and I'm too lazy to bring a sim onto the lot to change it. So that was honestly a lifesaver for me. I put in this desk that came with City Living because I thought it would fit the space best, and of course a Wabbit tablet because why not? The curtains were super cute, and for Cottage Living I thought they were highly appropriate. I tried to use a green tone on just about everything in this room, but not all of it matched. I did try to use the corner table that came for the kid stuff in the base game, but it's definitely got more of a yellow brown tinge to it, and I think I ended up trading it out for one of the giant stuffed animals. I think it was the unicorn. Here I was also trying to figure out how to start cluttering up the kids' room. Uh, with clutter, what I like to do is I like to place items on a surface and then I'll pull the surface away and then I'll drag them back. So that way you can really like clutter up a nightstand or a table or an office desk the way it would normally be without having to use the placements. And I realize that that's not always the best thing because sometimes it can impede the actual gameplay. And you might crucify me for this, but I haven't actually started playing The Sims until, recently. Like the last 6 months recently. This is because I actually didn't pick up the game until about 2017 or 2018. I'm a fairly new sim builder, and that's what I did for the most part when I started playing this game. Was I just built homes that I would never play in. I would just spend most of my time designing really big, monstrous mansion homes, and then after a while, it kind of got painstaking for me to figure out how to fill up all those rooms. And so gradually, my grandiose visions for homes became a little bit smaller and more manageable. But the point I'm making is that without any gameplay knowledge, it can be hard to realize, that without a countertop completely empty, your sim won't be able to cook or bake. And I didn't realize that with a lot of the builds that I've put on my gallery. The kitchen was honestly one of my biggest Achilles heels because it was like everything that you could have had in a kitchen, I would put in my kitchen. And it wasn't until I actually tried some gameplay and I asked my sim to start cooking and they refused to do it that I was like, well, why not? Why won't you do it? There is some space for you to work on. Use it. But it just didn't work like that. And, surfing the internet for a minute told me, hey, I need to stop cluttering up my build so much. The parents' room, I'm just finishing up decorating. I wasn't sure how to decorate it for the most part. I do like the curtains that came with seasons. They're honestly one of my favorites in this game with all the packs that I have. I do love the succulents that came with Dream Home Decorator. I think those are so cute and there isn't a single bad swatch. After I placed a laundry hamper in the parents' room, though, I did realize that there wasn't any space in the home for an actual washer and dryer that I had planned. So that's why I'm using the clothesline and the bucket that came from Laundry Day outside, which honestly it fits with the simple living style anyway, so I thought it just worked out perfectly. Here I'm adding the garden plots. I used the plain flat ones at first, but opted out for the ones that look like they come in rows. My grandparents had garden and grew their own vegetables and fruit, and it looked very similar to the one that I have placed here. I extended the stonework pathway just a little bit to cover the spot for the trash can. And then I decided I didn't want to tackle flowering the garden yet, so I moved back inside and decided to clutter up, but not completely, the kitchen counters. I usually opt for the higher end appliances when I start decorating the kitchen, like the not Apple coffee maker and the not Apple stove and the not Apple refrigerator. But obviously for this build, it's definitely, not the higher end. So unless your sim hits the lottery and can upgrade their kitchen, I opted for the little, cheaper side for the appliances. Here I'm putting a tea kettle and the king cookware on the stovetop because I think it looks cute. I have heard that putting those things on the back burner won't cause a fire, but I haven't play tested it myself. So I'm not positive it won't start a fire. I'm just taking it based on faith. Here I'm starting to find an organization to my clutter that I've accumulated on the countertops. I'm clicking the items and dragging them off of the surface so that they don't clip on. and making sure that I have at least one whole counter space that is void of any object, so your sim will have a place to cook and bake in their kitchen. I honestly am happy with how the kitchen came out. I think it's really cute. I love the red and the white color palette for it. When I began to attack the dining room, I knew I wanted to use this table by Hey Harry. I absolutely love that the Sims creative team reached out to some simmers that do mods for this game and asked them to create the custom content to actually be included with a base game update. I am excited that they chose to do this, and I really hope that they keep making moves like that going forward. I know they've been adding a lot of LGBTQIA artwork to the game recently. I think there's three different artworks now that you can add to your build that came with the base game update, sort of around the same time as Cottage Living. Anyway, I love those. I love the fact that they're including modders in the actual game and getting simmers to create builds for the packs that come out. But I gush. Anyway, the interior is actually just about finished, and I started working on the lights, making sure, there weren't any dark corners in the home. Looking at the outside and making sure that, there's lights in the places that there should be. I started figuring out what I wanted to do with the back deck at this point. I ended up using the pub table and chairs. I thought they worked really nice as like a outdoor seating set. And then under this window, I just put a bunch of clutter like plants. I really love the one that came with Eco Lifestyle, and that one that comes with the Laundry Day is so cute. But there comes a point in every single build of mine that I realize I have to start putting down some plants. So I had an idea of how I wanted to decorate the front. I knew I wanted some shrubbery and lots of colors and flowers. Some of these flowers that I put down, I thought, ended up being a little too big for what I wanted and what I had in mind. And it didn't really occur to me until a little bit later that I should use, the flowers and the plants that we got from the romantic garden set. Like, they look so pretty when you put them all together. It really makes your garden pop. I do like the new shrub. I think it's a new shrub anyway. I have never seen this shrub before in my life. The one that I used by the staircase, but the funny thing is I ended up switching it out for the plants from the romantic garden pack. I am definitely going to be using that one a lot more. There's a lot of uses for it in the landscapes that I have used in the past. The color choices I used for the romantic garden were definitely mostly focused on pinks and purples because they're the prettiest ones, I think, that come with it, and probably some of the more natural looking ones. They definitely catch your eye more, and I did want most of the focus to be on the garden. I tried to add a little bit of symmetry when I was placing these. I did have to change up some of the color on the flowers that I used because the greens didn't match the other plant green that was used around it, and I just thought it looked weird, so I just changed it just to save my own sanity. I used the assorted wildflowers in the spot by the trash can because honestly I didn't know what to do with that space, but I knew I wanted it to still be colorful, but I also didn't want to bulk it up with more dense shrubs. As I'm finishing up the garden and the planting of the flowers, so to speak, I was making sure that the plants weren't clipping through the fence as plants are likely to do in The Sims. I also wanted to fill up the blank spaces behind the ones in the front with some of the lavender bushes that come with the base game, and I was also being mindful not to let those stick out through the fence as well. I added the garden hose as well as the pitchfork and the shovel from earlier because I thought it would be appropriate for the outside of this house. Now, I'm about to do something that I have always done in every single one of my builds. I take the statue of the child, or Grogu, that was released in an update, and I hide it somewhere in my build. Now, I didn't necessarily hide it in this one because I thought it would be funny to stick Grogu next to the chicken coop. Anybody who's watched The Mandalorian will know why. But I have hidden Grogu or like a hidden Mickey somewhere in every single one of my builds, and it's something I've done for as long as that statue was introduced in the game because I thought it was silly that they did it. But after they released Journey to Batuu, I kind of see why. Also, fun fact, I don't have Journey to Batuu. It's the only pack that I have not bought. I also haven't bought a couple of the kits, Dustbusters and the fitness clothing one and the country kitchen. But I feel like after I got Cottage Living, I feel like I probably don't need the country kitchen kit because the kitchen set that we got with Cottage Living is so perfect. Anyway, we're getting close to the end of this video. I just wanted to thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this, please give me a thumbs up. Also, if you want to see more builds like this, we can go on that journey together if you hit the subscribe button. Leave a comment down below if you want to see more builds like this, or if you have any suggestions for other styles of builds you'd like to see me create going forward. Again, this home is up on the gallery now to download. Just search for my gallery ID, Hexa91. Thank you so much again for watching, and I can't wait to see you in my next video.